Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channels. My name is Meg Moonbeam, and I'm here with my friend Redpill Rooster, and we're going to talk about week 5 of the Diddy trial. Can you believe it, Luke, that we're at week 5?
I'm just shocked right now. It's felt like a long trudge through some mud so far. So
Yeah.
I'm really wondering if this thing's going to go longer than 8 weeks or if they're going to be, poignant about their time.
Yeah. Did we pull cards on that last time about, I feel like we did the timing.
We did, and we got that it looked like this was going to go a bit longer. So
Right.
we'll see. There was some interesting revelations this week that, seemingly came across as innocuous, but
Hmm.
time will tell. Namely, the thing that comes to mind for me that was the big shocker was the Mike Myers
Oh,
component that
yeah.
was mentioned in this. That Mike Myers was one of the uh, women who took the stand. I believe her alias is Mia that she's going by.
Hmm.
She was the former assistant for Mike Myers. And she mentioned that she had set up a meeting between Mike Myers and the CIA. So very interesting little, connection to just be mentioned there in the courtroom,
Yes.
sort of like what relevance does that have? But I'm starting to have my suspicions about this entire court case and whether or not it's
Hmm.
if there's a bigger angle here, there's a bigger picture, something that perhaps this is
Right.
about, and maybe it's not as much about Diddy seems on the face.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, we're going to get
You free
into, oh, sorry, Luke. Did I freeze on your end?
You froze on my end for a second. I was like, wow, that's a long thought.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, you guys. Something's a little bit funky with my computer. We are filming today on the last day of Jupiter in Gemini. Gemini and conjunct Mercury, as you reminded me, Luke, right before we went live. So it's a little bit of a funky energy. So bear with us. Hopefully, we don't have too many glitches. Yeah, we're going to get into Mike Myers, Mia, all the kind of key takeaways of this past week. Please remember, you guys, to like, share, and subscribe to our channels. We really appreciate all the support. And you can check out Red Pill Rooster's book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist. Don't forget to take your red pills over on Amazon. The link is in the description box below. And I love how you put the 2222 for the
Yeah,
paperback.
I had
That's awesome.
the Kindle at 888 too. So, I'm a big person that I love angel numbers and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Anytime you've got the same number 3 or 4 times in a row. So I don't know how it changed to 890 recently. Um,
Interesting.
something actually has been kind of odd with my Amazon account. So as you can see, there's 5 reviews there, but I was notified earlier this week that nobody's actually able to leave reviews on the book anymore. So I don't think that it's
Ooh.
anything I did necessarily to the account. So I'm going to have to do a little investigating to figure out what happened here. But, if you pick this up and, you enjoy, or I would just love to see people leave reviews, good, bad, or otherwise, and,
Hmm.
see that people are actually engaging with it. But yeah, it was pretty interesting for somebody to tell me, hey, by the way, I can't leave a review here. And I was, oh, interesting. Maybe that's why it's stuck at 5 reviews. So, food
Right.
for thought there. I'm gonna have to take a look.
Gotta hate those technical overlords. Not
You're
fun.
right, right.
Yeah, but they're losing their power now, which is a good thing.
They are.
And also, you guys, you can check out all our links in the description box. And Sunny and I, Sunny from Pluto, we just put out our astrological crystal kits over at the Scorpling shop. We've been getting lots of orders. So we want to say thank you so much to everyone that's supported us and opening up to the magic of working with crystals in alignment with your astrology. So you can go check that out at thescorplingshop.com. And until the end of this week, I think we're going to do it an extra week. You can use code ASTROCRYSTAL to get 10% off. I'll have to send you and Grace and the kids some little astrological crystal kits. Luke.
Oh, we'd love that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like we're going through the mud. As you said, we're in the trenches with this trial, and it just feels like it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier, but we still haven't hit that crescendo, if you will. And we don't know if Diddy is going to be taking the stand or not. I'm assuming he's going to have to at this point.
I would actually be surprised if he took the stand. I mean, I hope that he does, just for the sake of, hearing what the man himself has to say. Um,
Right.
but typically, in a case like this, they wouldn't take the stand. Uh, I don't think O.J. Simpson ever took the stand.
He didn't.
No, I don't recall. I don't believe so. It's
Okay.
one of those things where typically a defense kind of wants the person that's, in the spotlight to kind of just sit back and let the professionals do their job. Um,
Right.
because as you're sitting up there and obviously everything's about you, and if you're on the stand, a really good prosecutor is going to start to dig into you and, pick at your emotional wounds and, try to
Mhm.
find your triggers and see if they can get you to do an emotional outburst and incriminate yourself in some way or another. So,
Right.
from what I have heard was, typically, defense lawyers are like, you just stay in your seat, let the big boys do their
Wow.
job. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yep, yep, we'll see, and this is week 5 that's just passed, so we're entering into week 6 starting just next week, which supposedly we're being told so far this trial is only gonna go 8 weeks. I feel like it's gonna go longer. We pulled cards last time, it looked like it is gonna go longer, and do you feel like time is weird right now, Luke? Because I've been really feeling that the past couple weeks, ever since Saturn went into Aries and Saturn rules time. It feels fast, but there's also things going really slow at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the exact way that I would put it. Like things seem to be happening in the big picture at such a rapid pace that it's hard to keep
Yeah.
up with. But then intraday, just personal life, it just feels like things are slow. And
Mhm.
it's a bizarre energy to be working with and walking through on a day-to-day basis. Like I was just researching the Schumann resonance recently because, in my own personal life, I was like, what's going on here? Maybe
Yeah.
it's the earth. And sure enough, I pulled up some information on the Schumann resonance. And over the last few years, that thing's just been kind of going berserk every so
Right.
often. It's jumping from 7.83 hertz, which is, sort of the heartbeat of the planet, to
Right.
20 plus, so to
Mhm.
go from sort of 7 to 21, that's like a triple, right? You're that's a 3x amplification. And so
Right.
I can't help but feel like we are being emotionally and spiritually prepared for something,
Mhm.
maybe a massive shift in the resonance of the world itself, a change in the heartbeat, a change in a raise in the energy,
Wow.
and in order for us to really enter into that paradigm without just feeling like, we were thrown in scalding hot water. The earth has to sort of temper us into that scenario. It's like, putting a pot of clay into a kiln,
Mhm.
right? You've got to
Right.
temper that clay. You've got to put it in there for a little bit and then pull it out. Put it in, pull it out. And then finally it'll just, get hard enough and hot enough that it can handle the heat and it won't crack. So that's kind of what
Mhm.
I feel like we're going through.
Yeah, for sure. I can so resonate with that. And April Appling in the comments says, it's like a time limbo. I'm definitely feeling that for sure. There's certain things
100%.
in my personal life where it feels like it's in a limbo state and I don't know what's going on and I don't know what the future of it is. But at the same time, a lot of potential and possibility to move forward. So I think we're really being called to be in patience right now,
Mm.
very
Mhm.
intensely, as hard as that is. And for those of you who have never heard of the Schumann resonance before, this is something I've never personally followed very deeply, but I hear about it all the time. How would you describe that, Luke, for people who haven't heard about it before?
So the Earth, the planet, has a heartbeat, right? Just like all organic matter, material, it resonates and exists at a frequency. And for ages, the resonance has been 7.83 hertz. So, you know,
7.83. Okay.
very low, but it's there and it exists, and it pulsates throughout the planet. So for this to even go to from 7 to let's just say 21, which again,
Wow.
21 hertz is still a pretty low frequency. It's something that we are living in and existing with all of the time.
Mhm. Think we're having a little bit of a technical issue. I might be frozen on my
Yeah.
end. Oh,
Hey guys,
can you can you hear me, Luke?
can you I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you and see you now. Something weird just
Okay.
happened. Yeah, glitch.
I
Sorry,
don't
you
know if
guys.
I got kicked off. I think I got kicked off. Did you get kicked off at the same time?
Oh, no, you just got kicked off?
Like, it wasn't through StreamYard, but it was through my internet. Like, my internet just went blank on me, I guess.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
See, you guys, we're talking about the energies and the Schumann resonance, and then it's all blowing up. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Sorry,
It
Luke.
must
Just yeah, we just lost the last part of what you were saying, but you were explaining that so eloquently that the earth has a heartbeat and there's a
Mhm.
way to measure that with the Schumann resonance, and it's
Yes.
been going really up in the frequencies as of
Mhm.
late.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not something that you would necessarily feel on a regular basis because you've been being exposed to this 7.83 hertz your entire life up until the last few years where these wavelengths have just gone, parabolic. I'm talking
Mhm.
20 to 40 hertz in the amplification. And again, this isn't something that you would necessarily feel unless, for example, you were playing that sound on a speaker and you turned the volume up. So now you've got amplitude and the frequency has changed, and if you put your hand right next to that speaker, you could feel the difference in that frequency. um, but this is now something that we are all living with and experiencing
Right.
consciously or unconsciously. And so I think that it's happening for a reason. And didn't we
Mhm.
have a whole bunch of volcanoes go off recently? Like I
Yeah.
keep seeing these videos. I think I've seen 2 or 3 videos of volcanoes that have erupted over the last what, week or 2?
Mhm. Mhm. I think we're gonna be seeing, sorry, did you wanna say something else, Luke?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be seeing more of these, volcano eruptions, earth disruptions, things going on with the Schumann resonance, because as we're filming today, we're live on Sunday, June 8th, 2025. We've got Uranus at the end of Taurus, and starting on, I think it's June 17th, if I'm remembering correctly. I've got so many dates at the top of my head as an astrologer. Sometimes I can't remember everything, but pretty soon Uranus is going to enter 29 degrees of Taurus, critical degree, for a few weeks until July 7th. That's highly unstable for
Mm,
the Earth. Doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be something negative happens, but yeah, Larry in the chat is saying energy purging. A lot of, with Uranus at the end of Taurus, which Taurus rules Mother Earth and the nature, uh, purging through weather events,
mhm,
geysers, volcanoes, all kinds of things. So if you guys are feeling off at all energetically, you are not going crazy. Okay. There's nothing wrong with you. We're living in very intense energetic times. And I've been feeling so strong, Luke, with the whole Musk Trump thing that came up this past week, which does relate to the Diddy trial. I wanted to
right.
bring that up with you. Um, there's so many there's just so much weird stuff going on in a lot of ways where we're not directly connected to it. And for me as a Scorpio, where I feel things very intensely, like times 100, I get very attached to beliefs and things. I've been finding it really helps to look at things from like my inner child perspective and
Mhm,
not get too attached to okay, Diddy's going to go to jail or Diddy's not going to go to jail, because we're going to see what can happen, right?
Right.
And the astrology and the tarot and our intuition can help us to navigate all those things. But I've just been feeling this theme so intensely the past few days, intuitively, of like letting go of expectations and letting go of attachments, in particular when it's in regards to some of these outer things like you were mentioning, Luke, that are moving really fast, but don't actually necessarily pertain to our personal lives, even though we're all connected and we're all one. Okay, there's all that. But we're
Right.
we're, most of us don't know Diddy, Musk, Trump personally, all these kind
Right.
of characters. Does that
Hmm.
make sense how I just described that?
Totally. It's like just the other day, somebody was like, I wonder when these tax on tips is going to be released. Like people are sitting there hearing, oh, all these monumental changes, but then in their own
Right,
lives, they're like, well, when am I going to get stopped? When am I going to stop getting taxed on overtime? And when's the government
right.
going to stop taking my tips? Um,
Mhm.
so in that interpersonal way, we're all just kind of waiting for, some sort of sense of relief in our own lives. And in the
Right.
meantime, sort of seeing these big picture things take place that seem to be going in the direction that this community would like them to go.
Yeah.
Then we've got, other things sort of falling in the way of that. I'm thinking of Kash Patel, recently coming out and saying,
Oh my
"Oh, there's
god.
nothing there. There's nothing there, guys." I'm like, but Pam Bondi was just sitting there telling some stranger that there was, thousands of hours of these tapes, and all of a sudden now we've got this guy saying, "Oh, nothing exists."
Yeah.
And just so, aggravating because obviously everybody that sort of wanted Cash to get into that position wanted
Mhm.
him to get into that position because he sounded like he was gonna come in with the hammer and put it down. And
Yes.
now it feels like more of the same.
Mhm. What do you think is going on with that, Luke? What do you feel intuitively around that? Are we looking at doubles here? Are we looking at compromised people here? Are they getting threatened? Are they in positions where, okay, even though they're in the Trump administration, or there may be some kind of threats going on their way? What are you feeling with like the Cash Patels, the Dan Bongino, the Pam Bondi, kind of these characters?
My sense is one of two things. One, they are just compromised individuals that
Yeah,
Trump essentially pushed into the spotlight so that then they
yeah,
could expose themselves. These are the
yeah.
patriots in disguise. Um, that's sort of my leading narrative is that you know
Mhm,
Trump has been on this mission to drain the
mhm.
swamp. And in order to drain the swamp and get some of these people out of the way that have, been out there pretending to be in the community and of the community,
Right.
actually are really not, and now he put
Mhm.
them into a position where then they could really expose themselves to the public and for people to really see, oh man, it's worse than I thought, right?
Mhm.
It's that initial feeling that I got. I remember when, the courts decided that they weren't gonna review the 2020 election and that the Supreme
Mhm.
Court wasn't gonna have anything to do with it. And that was, in December of 2020. And I remember when I heard that information, I got like sick to my stomach, like not in my stomach. And I felt physically ill. I was like, oh my God, this is so much worse than I really
Wow.
thought that it was. The second scenario is, in my opinion, that okay, let's put it out there. Let's pretend for a moment that maybe these are the good guys, they
Mhm.
got put into this position and all of a sudden they were hit with information that is so deep, so heavy, so
Yeah.
horrible that they were like, this is what you're going to say. This is going to be the story. This is going to be the narrative because if you don't, then XYZ is going to happen. Um,
Right.
And to me, that's kind of the secondary scenario. For me, I'm kind of the mind at this point. We've seen so
Mhm.
many people compromised that it just you start to look at the connections of some of these people. Dan Bongino used to work for Obama. Lots of people are
Really?
yeah, yeah, he was Secret Service for Obama, and
Wow.
he blocked some people that I follow on X that just were hammering him every single day about like, "Hey, tell us about the $65,000 hot dog party at the White House," right? He would have been there for that. What'd you see? You know?
Whoa.
And he just straight up blocked this guy. I think they from my recollection, they shared a few choice tweets with one another, but this guy was just like, "You're a fraud. You know, y I don't believe you. Tell us what happened with the $65,000 of hot dogs." Like, I mean, come on. That is a
Oh my.
lot of hot dogs. And by the way, what
Yep.
politician do you know is gonna be at a party and be like, "Oh, yeah, hot dogs," you know?
Hot dog.
Like, that's not what they
Right.
serve at these state dinners. It's not
No.
hot dogs.
Mhm. Yep. It's not hot dogs and pizza. Yeah.
No, it's definitely not. You're getting, like, the filet mignon, the lobster
Yeah.
tail, you're getting the top of the line dish.
Mhm. Yeah, it's, lots of characters. I like to look at them all as characters because we're still even though Neptune is in Aries, okay, Neptune rules movies and actors and theater and all that. Neptune is still going back into Pisces one last time this autumn and this winter. So this movie is not completely done yet. It's not completely done until beginning of 2026, right? So I think we're starting to get more clarity about some of these characters, but the whole true clarity, it's not going to start coming, I think, astrologically until beginning of 2026. So
Mm.
it's interesting. Dan Bongino looks scared shitless lately. Have you noticed? I don't really watch
Oh my
interviews with him,
god.
but I've seen pictures of him just going through, scrolling through. He looks really scared. Have you
Yes,
noticed that?
he looks gaunt, like,
Right.
just like a guy, his cheeks are sunken in, I mean, he always was bald, but for some reason his skull looks more like bony or like I don't even
Mhm.
know. It just looks like veins are popping out of his head and, the
Yeah.
guy's about to have an aneurysm. And then, Kash Patel, anytime he gets asked about something where clearly he, was involved or like I remember he got asked at Congress about when he went on to Stu Peters' show, and he was just like, "What? Like, you don't remember going on Stu Peters' show 8 times?" Like,
Right.
watch some of those interviews. So, yeah, I'm of the camp that, both of these guys basically got pushed into the spotlight by Trump to expose
Mhm.
themselves. Um, Again, I think there is no understating how vast this operation is.
Yeah.
So, and then also both of these guys are out there, essentially pushing, Israel first, the whole motto.
Mhm.
We have to protect Israel. It's our greatest ally. And again, nobody voted for Kash Patel to be in the position that he's in because he wanted
Right.
Israel first and thought that they were
Right.
our greatest ally. So,
Mhm.
everybody that was really in the Kash Patel camp, I think that they have been sorely disappointed and very surprised by how he has, conducted things so far because he kind of sounded like he was going in there scorched earth and he was going to essentially
Mhm.
collapse the agency from within.
That's how he was coming off. Sorry to interrupt you,
Mhm.
but the weeks before he got his official appointment, yeah, he was coming in, "I'm gonna fuck this shit up," and he got everybody all riled up. Don't get
Mhm.
us all riled up after everything we've been through. That's what pisses me off when I see some of these people, right?
Yeah.
After everything we've been through, all the lies and the deceptions, don't rile us up if you're not gonna bring the goods, okay?
Yes.
Because 'Cause we've been through and as soon as you do that, okay, I'm done. I'm done,
Yeah. Yep. And I,
right?
right with Gemma, I can't get my head around Bongino being bad yet. I get it. And, there's a part of me that also thinks, you know, maybe he's not bad, right? But
Right.
perhaps he's still exposed in such a way that if certain information comes out, it's going to reflect so horribly on him that people are going to be like, you're bad, right? Like
Right.
you're a bad guy if you let X, Y, and Z happen, or if you knew that this happened and you didn't do something about it. Um,
Mhm.
life is a mixed bag, and so
That's yes.
you
Life is
just
a huge mixed bag
right, right.
for sure. We've got Sunny in the chat here. Hey, Sunny from
Hey,
Pluto. Thanks
Sonny.
for joining us. So, I mean, this past week 5, you guys, it's been a lot the same with this Diddy trial. Don't you
Hmm.
think, Luke? It's more past employees and assistants and lovers saying it's the story over and over and over again. Before we get into that nitty gritty, Luke shared this with me before we went live, and I can't believe I didn't hear about this. Cassie Ventura, who was the main witness so far in the trial, Diddy's longtime partner, who was 9 months pregnant on the stand, gave birth this past May 27th. So imagine having to take the stand against Diddy, who abused you and used you while you're 9 months pregnant and then giving birth. So, sending positive vibes over to Cassie's way because that definitely must have been very challenging for her.
Yeah. And that baby too. I'm so happy for that baby that she's born
Mhm.
or he's born because, when you're pregnant, all of your emotions that you're feeling are going into that baby. I remember it
Mhm.
being something that, both times Grace was pregnant, very cognizant of about the type of media that she was watching and, you know,
Right.
how she was, who she was going to be around and that sort of thing, just because you don't want to get riled up or angry or sad or depressed because of someone or something. And so because the baby's going to feel that too. So I'm just happy for the baby now. A little bit more autonomy, that mommy baby connection is still going to be there and always will be, but you know, not by the umbilical cord anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And Sunny in the chat says, "Damn, what's that baby's moon sign? What's rough start?" Or that's a rough start. Yeah,
Wow.
this is the chart for the baby. We don't know its exact time, but it was born on the new moon in Gemini on May 27th. So it's a sun and moon in Gemini. That was a pretty positive new moon, actually. So this is going to be a baby that's a truth speaker and a
Mm.
truth teller and might write a book, might do a podcast, might communicate in a new futuristic way from anything that we know, because by the time it's a young adult, there's going to be totally new inventions. But I think this is actually a special baby that Cassie just birthed and might actually reveal some big truths in the future.
And tell us what the 10th house represents. Is that related to career and success?
Yeah, 10th house is career, success, being seen publicly. We don't know exactly the time. So that unless the baby was born around noon, it won't have that big 10th house stellium. But yeah,
Okay.
maybe
Gotcha.
we'll figure out the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, very,
Wow.
very wild. So yeah, you were talking, Luke, about Mia, the former assistant of Diddy that took the stand. She alleged multiple instances of sexual assault and violent behavior. And she also talked about how she was the former assistant for, as you said earlier, Mike Myers and Madonna. Pretty interesting. Oh, I think we're paused again. Can you guys hear and see? Okay, I can
I'm
see
back.
you again.
I don't
You're
know. I
back.
I keep getting booted off the internet for some reason. Little
That's
strange.
okay. No problem. Yeah, I was just saying that, yeah, Mia was, as you said, the former assistant of not just Diddy, but also Mike Myers and
Mhm.
Madonna, which is pretty fishy. Okay, those are some very fishy characters. Mike Myers, I didn't think of as too fishy until recently with the whole, I don't know if you saw Luke, but he endorsed our crime minister in Canada and sold out Canada. Did you see that clip?
I did. Yeah, he did the whole, elbows up, cringy commercial with him and, know, acted like he was, some authentic Canadian. But where's Carney from originally? I know he's a Weffer, but I from what I understood, he's not even Canadian born. Is that right?
Sorry,
You're
I muted
muted.
myself for a minute.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Carney, total freak. He was supposedly born, well, I think it is his real chart, what we have. He was born in the Northwest Territories of Canada. And he's Canadian, but has lived in Europe the past 10 years and then just came back to become our new prime minister. So just want to play this quick little clip because it's so cringy of Mike Myers campaigning with Mark Carney. Take a listen to this, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. Mr. Prime Minister, Mike Myers, what are you doing here? I just thought I'd come up and check on things.
You live in the States.
Yeah, but I'll always be Canadian.
But you live in the States.
Yeah, so? Do you remember Mr. Dressup, the children's show on CBC?
What were the names of Mr. Dressup's two puppet friends?
Casey and Finnegan,
Bud the
Spud,
Howie,
Meeker,
Capital Saskatchewan.
Regina,
Tragically.
Hip.
You're a defenseman defending a 2-on-1. What do?
Take away the pass, obviously.
What are the two seasons in Toronto?
Winter and construction.
Wow. You really are Canadian.
Yeah. But let me ask you, Mr. Prime Minister, will there always be a Canada?
There will always be a Canada.
All right. Elbows up.
Elbows up.
It's just so retarded. I can't handle it, Luke.
I love how they framed that whole thing too. Like Carney was the true Canadian, interviewing Mike Myers, rather than it being the opposite way around because he just came over from Europe, like you said.
Right.
Such a mind fuck.
It's just, and disappointing for me because, okay, I know not to put these celebrities up on a pedestal, but I really enjoyed Mike Myers. I really like Austin Powers. I really like Shrek. Sonny and I have watched Shrek so many times. It's just so disappointing when you start to go down these red pill rabbit holes of seeing so many of these people have been compromised and are selling us out, right?
Yeah, I just realized his hair was blonde in that.
Yeah.
So in the club, in the Illuminati, the rumor is that when a person levels up or gets promoted, they get their hair dyed blonde. So when you see you've seen these, pictures of all of these club members over the years having bleach blonde hair, wow. It's like, I can't tell if it's blonde or if it's what. Did he go white? Is he just like, is he that old that he went full white?
It looks blonde to me. Let's just look at this video again.
That looks super blonde.
That looks blonde.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So when people get up leveled or what's the word that you just said? They're promoted. They go blonde. That makes so much sense because they do. Now that I think about it.
And you have to, signs and symbols. It's always about the signs and symbols. So they always have to have a way to basically notify the other members that, somebody's been promoted. And you'll often see that when they get the blonde hair, there'll be some, they'll end up on the cover of a magazine, or they'll be in the spotlight for some reason. I think back to years ago, for some reason, Justin Bieber standing out to me when he went full bleach blonde, and when he went full bleach blonde, he had the BB. He was wearing one of those, varsity jackets, but it was like a Bieber. It was like clearly a custom made one for him.
Yeah.
And he was at a Diddy party.
Whoa. That's wild. And it gets even weirder, you guys. Sonny's bringing up weird. Mike Myers has a show about Illuminati. Yeah, Luke reminded me about that before we went live. I only watched the first episode. It's so freaking weird. It's on Netflix, right?
Yep, it's on Netflix. I've watched the entire thing. Yes, the Pentaverate. And, very interesting, very funny. And, if you're into, all of these conspiracies, because they poke fun and sort of spotlight all of this stuff. Lots of funny characters in here. Mike Myers plays like, I don't know, 8 different characters, and
Mhm.
he's very talented. But yeah, there's definitely, I watched it because I was like, oh, there is definitely comms in here,
Mhm.
the whole way from the first episode to the last. And I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, I mean, by the last episode, I was like, are they exposing Mike Myers? And there's a very
Wow.
particular reason. If Sunny's seen it all the way to the last episode, she might know why. I'm like, was he exposed? Because very specific. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to give anything away in case anybody decides to watch it.
Oh my gosh. Should we pull some cards specifically on Mike Myers, or you wanted to bring up, Luke, will this trial be connected to future trials having to do with some other of these celebrities that some of these assistants may have worked with?
Yes, absolutely. I think let's take a look at that, because also Leonardo DiCaprio was named this last week. And this is
Mhm.
the type of stuff that I'm kind of thinking is the most fascinating part this week, because the prosecution just kind of keeps beating the same drum. Like, you
Right.
know, we're at the third or fourth girl here where it's the
Mhm.
same exact pattern.
Yep.
Very obvious, we get it, but we really need to get into the finances and stuff like that. They're not
Yeah.
quite there from what I'm seeing, and so, but the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio was basically mentioned in a text message from, I think it was Mia, uh,
Mhm.
talking to Diddy about, reminiscing on the good old days, and Leo was in a memory there. And so I'm looking at this just going, all right, Mike Myers, Madonna, Leonardo
Right.
DiCaprio, all named in the same week. Maybe
Mhm.
this trial really isn't about Diddy as much as it seems like it is on the nose. And maybe
Right.
this is really about exposing the larger circle, because now that all of this was, sort of laid out in court, it leaves the door open for future investigations of all of those people. Why are
Mhm.
they being mentioned in a Diddy trial? What's the relevance?
Right. For sure. Should we ask what's the relevant? Ask another way.
Let's ask the cards a few questions. Let's
Yep.
ask um if this trial is going to lead to other trials with other
Okay.
celebrities.
Yep. That is a good question. Hmm.
Mm,
Weird. Do you wanna go first?
sure. So the first card I got was the Four of Pentacles. So I see this as information or actual facts that have been long held and kept down, and now is sort of, with the Page of Wands, coming into action in a small way, right? This isn't this isn't a king, this isn't an emperor, this isn't a major arcana, but it's a court card. And so
Mhm.
we've got the Page of Wands here, sort of has these characters coming into action, coming into view, and getting sort of the rumor mill going, right?
Hmm.
Getting the information, getting people to start questioning and wondering about what's actually happened, getting them talking about these people in this world, in this scenario. Right now, it's pretty innocuous, right? It's nobody's out there saying, like, oh, yeah, I got RAPED'd by Diddy with, Leo
Mhm.
or something like that. It's, relatively benign, but as we have seen, all these things, they tend to spider, and one thing leads into another. I think it's just very interesting that I think it's Mia was also Madonna's assistant as well, and we'll talk more about that.
Mhm.
But go ahead. What did you get?
Yeah, and Madonna has a song called Illuminati on one of her albums, and she, has done many public rituals. Got the Ace of Swords, so I feel like that's a big fat yes.
Oh.
And sorry, you guys, it's not closing in, but swords are about thoughts, words, communication, information. So I feel like, yeah, this trial is going to connect to other celebrity trials. But it's interesting because with the Ace of Swords, I'm also getting the Two of Pentacles reversed and the Four of Cups, which as I'm pulling those is actually giving me a little bit of and making me intuitively feel confused. And that's interesting because this headache thing, I don't know if you've been having that at all, Luke, but I've been having headaches like the whole past week, almost every single day. So maybe that's with the energies of what we're processing, but I'm feeling it very strong as I see this Two of Pentacles reversed and also the Four of Cups. And this is making me feel like this theme again of things are up in the air. It feels
Mhm.
like nothing set in stone. And sorry, you guys, those ones aren't closing in. It's not set in stone exactly how this is going to go. And I wonder if even with this trial, if it's not totally set in stone. We were kind of getting that earlier, Luke, in one of the previous week's videos, that they're kind of monitoring how the public is taking everything week to week to see, okay, what's the next card we're going to pull? What's the next layer that's going to go on here? But
Right.
with that Ace of Swords, it's leading towards further big revealings and
Yeah.
disclosures.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yep.
so. And what was that third one that you pulled?
The Four of Cups.
Yes. So with that card, the guy's kind of sitting there deciding, what he's gonna take and what opportunities is he going to take and what's he
Yep.
gonna, leave behind. I think
It's weird.
that
It's
they could be there. It is. I think
yeah.
that they could be looking at this going, there we go. Yeah, that
Mhm.
guy's just sitting there like, okay, who are we going to pull into this next? Right? He's got 4
Mm.
cups there, and he's kind of looking at those 3, and now he's got 1 right in front of him, and he's got his arms crossed like, which one's the
Yeah.
best to go with next?
Right. Yeah, and that's making me think about how this week coming up on June 11th, we're going to have a full moon in Sagittarius. So actually, we're entering into a week astrologically where there's some pretty big transits going on. Full moon, 20 degrees of Sagittarius. You've got your moon in Sagittarius, right, Luke? So that's all
Mhm.
about the sun. Deeper, higher truths, very kind of similar to the sign of Scorpio. And with it being at a Scorpio degree, can rule true crime, secrets being revealed. So a little bit of an intense degree. This isn't the chart for the full moon in Sagittarius, you guys. This is the chart for right now, but just wanted to show the current transits as we're leading into the week. And also this week, Jupiter in square to Saturn. So we're going to be feeling that Saturn at the beginning of Aries transit even stronger. Saturn, of course, does rule law, order, can be court trials as well. Also, law and order in general. We're seeing things really ramp up in LA. We were talking about that
Mhm.
earlier with the illegal protests. So it feels like that also might be the Two of Pentacles reversed, is like there's so much going on at the same time. Let me just get rid of the chart here. There's a lot that is being juggled, right? That there is a
Mhm.
lot that higher forces are juggling of, okay, what's the right thing to bring out now? And it's already an information overload, right?
Yes.
It's already big, fat information overload.
Well, and I also look at those things that happened over the last few days in LA with, in coordination with the Schumann resonance, again, amplification of energies, frequencies. And typically, when those types of things manifest themselves in us people, you know, it's heightened emotion. You
Mhm.
might be feeling depressed, you might be feeling angry, you might want to
Yeah.
lash out. We're sort of we've got a lot of pent up energy, and it sort of is bubbling over like maybe
Yeah.
volcanoes erupting, or we're seeing people erupting now in LA. And so, yeah, we had that show back in January about LA, and I think
Right.
we're really starting to see that go to the next step there. You know, the astrology of LA sort of reignite the fire there, and now this time it just has to be dealing with immigration.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very intense place to be right now at the moment, for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Anything else you want to ask the cards, Luke, in regards to the what Mia testified, the celebrities involved that
Yeah,
have been
let's
mentioned?
take a look at Mike Myers. You know,
Okay.
what was the whole CIA thing about? You know,
Right.
she mentioned that she had scheduled a tour for Mike Myers to go to the CIA. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
naturally, like
Natural.
everybody's like, "What? Why
Yeah.
was Mike Myers at the CIA?" I mean, you know, what is that? What's that have to do with? Let's just start there. You know, what does
Mm-hmm.
Mike Myers visiting the CIA have anything to do with?
And
And is
yeah.
he working for the CIA?
Mm-hmm. And this was back in 2009, right shortly after Pluto entered Capricorn. So that's interesting.
Yeah, who dark-haired Mike? Yeah,
Dark hair Mike.
back when he
Very
had dark
different.
hair.
Yeah, very different energy, the dark hair Mike compared to the blonde hair Mike.
Mhm.
It's like two different people. And he is a Gemini with his son as a Gemini degree. So he actually is two different people. And I think that's why he can play all these characters and be 10 people at the same time in one show.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's take a look at him and just see, you know, um, how is Mike
Hmm.
Myers working with the CIA, or what did that have anything to do with?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, I'll share first.
Mhm.
Interesting cards. We've got the King of Pentacles. Okay. Also the Queen of Wands and the Hermit. So I feel like the Hermit I would actually associate with maybe the CIA or undercover work or people being spies, doing something behind the scenes, hiding, themselves who they truly are. King of Pentacles is a very abrupt tarot card. So this is telling me maybe when he went to the CIA, could have had something to do with something financial, whether that was, I don't know if there was maybe an Austin Powers. Do you know when the last Austin Powers movie was, Luke?
Let me look that up. I feel like
Yeah.
that was in the, like, mid-2000s?
Yeah, it was like earlier than that. Yeah, the
Like, yeah,
last
like
one was
2000, like early 2000s, that's what I meant.
yeah. So it was
Austin.
after that. Yeah, so it didn't have anything to do with that. Something financial. So maybe it was an opportunity for him to receive. Like King of Pentacles is big money. That's no
Mm,
joke money. So
mhm.
maybe there was some sort of deal that was made. Also, the Queen of Wands. Interesting. Maybe he partnered with some sort of powerful woman, or there was interesting that in that picture, he's like hugging a woman who kind of looks like the Queen of Wands.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you pull that back up? That's really
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. I wonder who that
Yeah.
was.
Hmm. I don't know who that is.
Very
Oh,
interesting.
here, pictured here on the iconic seal are Myers and his girlfriend, Kelly Tisdale. Never
Yeah.
heard of her before.
So he brought his girlfriend to the CIA with him.
That kind of feels like the two of them, those two cards.
Mhm.
It's like the King of Pentacles is him because he was also one of the highest paid actors. He's one of the richest actors of all time, right? Austin Power, Shrek, like those are really big movies. And then this Queen of Wands, I'm curious to see who she is, right? Because that kind
Mhm.
of feels like, and then the Hermit, I feel like, yeah, there was something more to that. There was something a lot deeper to that. But interesting, I also got the Justice reversed. So maybe it didn't go the way that those involved wanted it to go.
Yeah, I'm getting something like that too, because I got the tower reversed right out of the
Whoa.
gate. So I'm getting the sense that when this was initially coming down the pipe, he didn't want to do this. He was like, what is this? I get the sense that he was actually called, or somebody tapped him or tapped his assistant and said, hey, we'd like you to make a visit. We'd like you to come take a tour. And he was
Mhm.
like, what the fuck? Why?
Right.
You know, and that there was something going on that had put him through, you know, some really tough moments. You know, you look at this guy, he's a bit beat up, right? He's been
Mhm.
through a tough battle trying to put all those sticks in the ground or whatever it is. They've fallen on his head. Things haven't been going his way, but things kind of started to, you know, as you can see there, the sticks they're all starting to sprout little green. So they're growing,
Mhm.
but it hasn't been easy. Um, and I get the sense from that picture that you just showed that he was like holding on to her like that was his comfort, right? It's like he was holding on to her the way that my children hold their stuffed animals at
Yeah.
bedtime, right? Like, just keep me
Right.
safe, right? Like that is such
Yeah.
it's it's a little bit beyond I love you. It's like, oh my God, you're my security blanket while I'm here at the CIA.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he was delivered or hit with a lot of information during this visit.
Wow.
This wasn't just like, hey, come take a tour and, you know, check it out and we'll have a good time together. There was a very specific reason. The tower shows up. This doesn't show up for nothing. And
Mhm.
the tower may not be necessarily him with it being in reverse. It could be the CIA was in trouble, right? Or that characters in the CIA. What year was it that he went there? Was that
2009.
2009? So
Mhm.
this is shortly after you know, the recession of
Yeah.
2008. Again, we see a lot of the same characters making their way through the government mill, if you will. So perhaps that there was people there working in the CIA that were
Mhm.
facing the tower moment, and with Mike Myers, you know, being in the club, um, you know, they basically said, "Hey, we've got some bad news, and we've got some bad things that have been going on, and here's all the information, and here's what we need you to do now." And
Right.
perhaps this was when the idea of the whole Pentaverate movie was starting to be formulated, or the, you know, the show. Uh,
Mhm.
I remember years ago when this whole thing, the Pentaverate, had come out. I was actually listening to Janine at the time, and you know, I learned about it from her show, and she had pulled that the Pentaverate was originally supposed to be something very different, and then the white hats had taken over it, and they turned it into what it is now, which, like, the concept for the Pentaverate, if you don't know, is that they are, you know, the secret society, but they're the good guys. So
Right.
that's the spin on the whole, you know, idea there. Is it's like the
Right.
Illuminati, but they're the good guys.
Mhm. Such a weird freaking show, seriously. So, yeah, okay, very interesting with Mike Myers, and for those of you, some of you guys are saying that you're just tuning in, we're talking about Mia, her testimony on the first day of the Diddy trial this past week. She mentioned people like she worked for Mike Myers, she worked for Madonna, that there's a Mike Myers CIA connection, but I don't think she went too into that. So that was a pretty big, bombshell coming forward for sure. And anything else you wanna bring up with that, Luke, or should we move on to something else?
Let's take one more look at,
Mhm.
is this going to, did we already look at if this is going to create spin-off trials?
Yes.
Okay.
And it looks
Never mind.
like yes.
Yeah.
I know. I get like that. Oh, Luke's connection is gone there. We'll just let him come back. If you guys can give me a 5x5, is my connection okay, everybody? Gotta love this Jupiter at the end of Gemini.
I'm not
All
sure
good.
what's going on. I'm going to try and just connect to my hotspot. I'm not
Okay.
sure if it's my internet. The internet seems to be fine, but then I just keep getting dropped like a bad habit over here.
It's all good. It's wonky day for technical stuff. People are saying 5x5. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know how that feels. Look, when I'm looking at the astrology or doing things psychically, I don't remember anything. I don't remember what we just talked about. So, guys,
Right.
please don't mind us.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we move on through the week with this trial, very, very interesting. We learned on Tuesday, on day 15 of the trial, Eddie Garcia, a security guard from the Intercontinental Hotel, testified and shared that Diddy paid $100,000 to get the hotel beating video, which I haven't shared in any of the video series because it is very graphic. Trigger warning, but if you do want to see that beating video of Diddy beating the crap out of Cassie, that is available on YouTube if you do happen to want to see that. But let's take a little listen to Lauren Conlin, who's been in person with the trial, talking about what she saw firsthand during Eddie Garcia's testimony.
It was Eddie Garcia. He is formerly a security guard for Securitas. He was working at the Intercontinental on March 5th, 2016, the day of the infamous beatdown video. And his shift was at 2 p.m. right after Israel Flores' shift. And, we saw his sign-in sheet, and Israel Flores, along with Bill Medrano, they were his superiors. And we heard from Israel. He was the first witness on the stand, and we have also heard Bill's name before. So Eddie says that he gets a message, or he hears about an incident that happened as soon as he walked in to work. They tell him about the incident, and he realizes after the fact that it is Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura. He goes about his day, and he describes getting a phone call at the security desk, just the general desk. And he said that the caller said that she was Christina Coram, a personal assistant to Sean Combs. And he said he answered the phone. This is Eddie speaking. So she already had his name. And, she just said, I'm aware there is a video and Mr. Combs would like to see it because he was intoxicated and doesn't really remember what happened. And Eddie said that he told Christina, yeah, you're going to have to go get a subpoena or talk to hotel security because I don't have any authority to do anything. And she said, okay, thanks. So he said that about 60 to 90 minutes later, he gets a call from the hotel saying somebody is in the lobby that wants to see you. He goes to the lobby and it's Christina Coram. And she asks again, I want to know if there's any way I can get this video. Mr. Combs wants to see it. He's very stressed. He doesn't remember. And she kind of said, I want to know what we're dealing with. And he told her, again, I can't do anything about this, but off the record, it's really bad. And he described Christina Coram's appearance to the jury and all of us. And then he gets back to his office and he gets, he gets another call from Christina at the desk, and she says, someone wants to speak with you. And she passes the phone over to Diddy. And Eddie Garcia described Diddy as being very nervous, seeming just kind of like talking fast and saying, look, this could be very bad for my reputation. You know how women are. Like, I really need to see this video. And Eddie said that, he said, again, I can't do anything. This is above my pay grade type of thing. I don't have access to this room to get the video anyway. So after he hangs up, Eddie said he then sends an email to his boss, Bill Medrano, just to kind of say what's going on because, that's his job. He's got to just detail everything. So he said, look, Sean Combs is requesting a meeting with the hotel about this video. I just want to pass that along. He seems very worried, whatever. So Eddie says he gets home later that night and he gets a call on his cell phone, which he did not give, he said, to anybody. And it was Christina Coram who passed the phone over to Sean Combs. And that's basically when Diddy says, look, you got to make this happen. I'll take care of you type of thing. And Eddie said that he understood that to be money. I'll take care of you. So he said that he goes to work and he notifies Bill Medrano about what's going on. And he kind of said, this is what was said to me. And he said that Medrano goes, okay, thinks about it and says, I'll do it for 50. And he said he took that to be $50,000. So he calls up Diddy and says, my boss will do this for $50,000. And he said Diddy sounded very excited. And then he started referring to him as Eddie, my angel. We heard this numerous times. Eddie, my angel. Eddie, my angel. So Eddie hangs up, contacts Bill and says it's a go. And he said that, Diddy wants it done ASAP. So Madrano said okay, and the next day, this is the 7th, March 7th, Madrano gets the USB drive, gives it to Eddie Garcia. Garcia contacts Sean Combs. Sean Combs tells him where to go, meets him 15 minutes away at a high-rise building. He goes up to the building, and KK offers him some tea because he said that his voice kept cracking because he was nervous, and he lied and he just said, yeah, I'm getting sick, but he was really nervous, and that he said he didn't really drink tea, but Diddy said to Christina, get him the tea I like or whatever. So he did, and Diddy asks him, look, is this the only copy? He says, I'm not sure, let me just make sure. He calls up Bill. Bill says, yep, the only copy. And then Diddy says, okay, I want your ID, I want Bill's ID, and I want the other person's ID that I saw, which was Israel Flores. And so Eddie said, Israel Flores, he's never going to go for this, which is kind of true. And he calls up Bill, and Bill says, nope, another guy will be okay with it. This guy, Henry Elias, who was also on duty. So Bill ends up texting Eddie these IDs, and then they get Eddie's ID in person. Eddie sends them over to Christina or Diddy. Diddy goes into another room. He comes back. He says okay, and he gives Eddie Garcia an NDA to sign. And during, this NDA, we look at specific parts of this, and one part basically says if you violate this, you will be required to pay up $1 million in fines, in a fine type of thing. So he says that he's too nervous. He doesn't really even read it. He just signs it. And then after that, Diddy comes back with a bag full of money and a money counter. And it wasn't $50,000. It was $100,000. And he counts it. And he says that, he gets the money. He stands up to leave, and Diddy offers to walk him out. He walks him downstairs to get his car. He said, what are you going to spend the money on? Garcia says, I don't know. And Diddy says, don't spend it all in one place. He said that Diddy also asked for his car as well. So when Eddie was driving away, he said he kind of looked in the rearview mirror to make sure he wasn't being followed. He wasn't. He said that Diddy contacted him about 2 weeks later, which was Easter, and said, hey, Eddie, my angel, and wanted to make sure that nobody had been talking about the video, which they hadn't. And that was that. And then Eddie said that, he didn't really hear from him again, but he did DM him on Instagram a few years later looking for security work, and Diddy never wrote him back. He testified that he bought a used vehicle with the money.
Isn't it wild what money and fame will do to get people to do some pretty dark stuff, right? I mean,
And
how could somebody watch? And okay, I'm not in a position where I'm crazy, struggling financially, living in New York City. I don't know the personal situations of some of these security guards and people that worked at the Intercontinental Hotel, what drove them to that. But how can you watch that video of Cassie getting the shit beaten out of her, 14 minutes long or whatever it is, and accept $100,000 hush money? That's dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always, a little astounded every time I hear how they invert something. So he calls that guy Eddie, my angel. And as far
Right.
as I'm concerned, Diddy's basically acting like a demon, and this guy is his angel. So again, it's always like there's always that inversion there. Like this guy did something arguably pretty bad,
Yeah.
morally reprehensible. And, to Diddy, that's his angel, so
Right.
yeah, just the way that they, decide that they're going to nickname people, and it totally, it always ends up representing the opposite of the actions that they actually took.
Yeah. Such a point for sure. And, we think about how can all these people get away with doing these trafficking rings or, alleged whatever it is. It's through money, through power, through being around famous people or trying to make someone famous themselves, right?
Right.
It's tempting when we're in vulnerable and weak positions spiritually.
Yep, absolutely. And blackmail is a powerful tool.
Mhm.
People really have a hard time wrapping their head around, oh, well, how are you going to get hundreds of people to be quiet about, anything? We could be talking about 9/11, for example, and
Mhm.
somebody will ask, well, but how are you going to get that many people to be quiet? I'm like,
Right.
blackmail. Have you seen Congress? It's
Yeah.
not
It's
pretty
it's all
simple.
blackmail.
Right.
Yep. That's for sure. John in the chat says extortion. Yes. Gemma says, dark will always want the light. Yep, for sure.
Mhm.
That does tend to happen. Yeah, that must be really weird to be a juror and listening to, okay, people telling the truth and helping us to get the story forward. But at the same time, many of these assistants, these are not innocent people, fully innocent people.
Right.
Many of them have been complicit in some of
hmm
these things,
hmm
right?
Mia actually, she only took the stand because she got what's the word I'm looking for? Protection, where she can't
Hmm.
be convicted or charged with anything. The word is maybe if you guys know what I'm talking about, the word I'm looking
I'm
for.
having a
Very
brain fart.
simple. You
Hmm.
say it in the chat, but
Yeah.
ultimately, what Mia did was she took a deal where she said, "Yeah, I'll tell the truth as long as I have protection, immunity." Thank you.
Immunity. Yeah.
Great, fully awake. Yes. So she has immunity so that she could actually talk and tell the story. And, because from what I understood, she was selling drugs, she was dealing drugs. And so she's not trying to go in there and get herself convicted for being a drug dealer, right? But
Mhm.
if they want her testimony and her corroboration of certain events, they need her to go in and feel, unthreatened and unworried that they're going to come
Right.
after her for whatever it was that she did. It may not have
Mhm.
just been selling drugs. We don't know. What we do know is
Right.
that all of these assistants have been asked to do some very compromising things, whether it was
Mhm.
cleaning up the hotel rooms to, helping get tapes that are out there of Diddy beating somebody scrubbed and eliminated, even though obviously it wasn't. Like, he got lied to, he got played, but
Mhm.
like, never trust a pirate. I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, that's the game you're playing. You're out there playing with a
Yeah.
bunch of scam artists. You're a scam artist yourself. So, um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know.
It's so much. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in all this
It is.
information, and it makes me think too about how, people that are more normies, or as Sunny likes to call them, sleepies, we don't wanna go down these rabbit holes because it's dark. It's
Yeah.
really intense to take all this information in, and it can even be overwhelming. So, little Cole's notes for you guys for some of the things that came out also this past week. Day 16 on Wednesday, we had Frank Piazza testify, who I think was another employee of Diddy. And Diddy threatened him by saying, I'm the devil and I could kill you. That was one of the things he said. We also had one of Cassie's friends named Brianna Mongolian got dangled off a balcony by Diddy and
Yeah.
abused by him.
Mhm.
We also had a Jane Doe start to testify, who is one of the ex-lovers of Diddy. And she said that Diddy is still paying her rent to this day. And very similar story to Cassie's, to some of the other ex-lovers, people in Diddy's lives. It starts off as you think a loving relationship, and he's in love with you, and it's exciting because he's P. Diddy and he's giving you money and he's bringing you all over the world. Then he starts to ask if you'll fulfill a personal fantasy that he has, where he wants to bring in some male strippers, cover all you guys with baby oils, watch baby oil, watch you have sex. So Jane Doe, should we pull some cards on this Jane Doe?
Yes,
Because
definitely.
this could be somebody public that we don't know because they're wanting to be anonymous, or maybe it's someone more not as public.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
How should we ask the question?
Hmm. What do we need to know about Jane Doe? She's the mystery kind of in this case. We don't know who she is.
Mhm.
Oh, Gerald says Daphne Joy. Okay, I don't know who that is. That's
Hmm.
a potential.
It seemed like from the sketches that it was a blonde-haired woman, even though they've been blurring out the face, but I
Okay.
wonder if even that's, accurate, or if they're intentionally misleading.
Mhm. Mhm. Hmm. Interesting. I'm going to see if I can get. Do you want to go first, Luke? And I'm going to see if I can get any of the art from the trial of that.
Sure, absolutely. So I get that this is a woman who's fallen from grace. And so
Hmm.
this was somebody who was in the spotlight, who we would know publicly. Maybe not, not an A-lister, not somebody that, necessarily is a household name by any means, but possibly, quite possibly could have had a much bigger career than what it turned out to be. Similar to Cassie, right? Had a one-hit
Mhm.
wonder, then was told she was going to get 10 record deal with Diddy. He never did anything with her. So
Mhm.
I get that this was somebody who was somebody, but now is, probably struggling. Nobody would really know who she was. Then I got the Page of Swords. So this is the Page of Swords. I think this is somebody who it definitely is coming with credible information, and it's information that is going to put Diddy into a very bad position. And then we've got the King of Swords in reverse.
Wow.
So not only from what she's already said, she's got more. And this is information that has the potential to put Diddy upside down in a bad way.
Hmm. Wow. Very interesting. I don't know where you saw the picture of a blonde. When I type in the Jane Doe, I
Okay,
get a black woman
let
where
me
we
see if I
can't see
can
her
find it.
face. So interesting. We don't know exactly what she looks like, but okay, that's fascinating, Luke, because I'm getting very similar to what you're getting. So I've got the world card reversed, which this world card is very much a card about success, perfection, all things aligning and coming together and happiness. It's a very positive card when we have it upright, but reverse kind of makes me feel what you just said, like someone that just went from a fall from grace. They had the world at their fingertips. They had very positive opportunities at their fingertips and then
Mhm,
went totally sideways. I pulled a clarifier on that and I got the victory card reversed. And when we get the Six of Wands, I call it the victory card. When we get
mhm,
the victory card reversed Six of Wands, this can be like pride of riches or fame. So maybe this is someone that was really set on wanting to become famous and not so much the artistry, perhaps, of whatever she was trying to accomplish, which sucks.
mm,
And we've got the justice card. So I feel like her testimony is going to help to bring justice. Maybe she'll be called back. She's a part of the justice that is going to be in this case. And also the Seven of Swords with her. So she's needing to act very, very carefully and stealthily with this. She may feel like she's not in a very safe position. I feel like she's surprisingly someone public that like a total A-lister, like you said, Luke, but she's really putting herself on the line here.
mhm.
Mhm.
And what was the card that you got right before the victory card that was the clarifier? Or
The Six of Wands reversed.
the Six of Wands reversed? So you had the victory
Mhm.
card and
Yeah.
what was the other card attached to that?
The World was the first one, reversed. The World
Mhm,
reversed,
mhm.
and then this one was the clarifier for that,
Yeah,
Six of Wands.
I'm getting a sense that the whole world here, we're in the upside down world, right?
Yes.
Where bad is good and good is bad. And this person was when you said that she was very, prideful about
Mhm.
riches, and
Mhm.
then to have that taken away, it reminds me of
Mhm.
what was it that happened in the trial? We mentioned that this person was still being paid, uh, still receiving essentially $10,000 a month payment for the apartment.
Yep.
And this person is also, I believe, the same person that wants the immunity, or that got the immunity.
Mm-hmm.
So it just has me wondering, what else was this person involved in? You know,
Right.
somebody who tends to be very prideful and focused on money and maybe unscrupulous, you know, in the way that they get that.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps she saw more that, you know, is being led on to so far, and hope maybe we'll see some more come out from her.
Should we ask, is her identity going to end up being revealed?
Yes.
Are we going to see an identity reveal over
Yeah.
here? Because it feels like someone that maybe it feels like someone that a lot of people would know, but you wouldn't think would be a part of this.
Right.
That's what I'm kind of picking up on intuitively.
Okay.
Is her identity? Whoa. Okay, I got the Sun with the Four of Wands. And the Sun is very much about our identity, our ego, who we
Mhm.
are. So I'm going to take that as a yes. And the Four of Wands is like a celebration card. So I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yeah. I think that we are going to, she's sort of deciding whether or not herself at some point,
Mhm.
she's going to make a decision whether or not she wants this to come out, and it might
Yeah.
be on her, and it very well might be attached to money, right? She might, in the future, there might be an opportunity where she has the opportunity to reveal her own identity in relation to this, for a little bit of that success that she once had, and a little bit of redemption for whatever it was that she went through.
Interesting. We're going to have to stay tuned for that. Tina says, I think it's pink. World card and upside down card a minute ago. What the hell?
Interesting.
That would be weird.
I'm
I didn't
trying to,
know she was ever. Yeah, I haven't ever seen, like, I'm not a big Diddy fan. So before this trial, I didn't know a whole lot about Diddy. I knew some of the conspiracies around him, but Tina, that would be fascinating if it was her. It feels like that. Someone that you wouldn't think right away, but is actually publicly quite known.
mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, it seems like the truth is going to be revealed around
Yes.
that. I think this was this past week. I also wanted to share this with you guys, or it might have come out the week before. James O'Keefe was on the Valuetainment podcast with Patrick David Bett, and he talked about how he is actively looking for intel on Diddy. They were talking about, there hasn't been anything super crazy. I mean, it has been very intense information coming out yet, but nothing very implicating yet. And James O'Keefe says he's looking into it and he's going to make this a priority. So take a listen.
That people say that's got a specific.
Oh, and we've got an ad, of course. Just one sec, you guys. Marlis in the chat says Pink is a member of the club. She definitely is, because she shat all over all the unvaccinated. Do you remember that, Luke?
Mm-hmm.
That was very dark. What
Very
she did.
telling.
Yes.
And here's the thing is, when you start to become hip to this whole thing, it starts to become very obvious when people are exposing themselves, because it's people like Kash Patel that tell you one thing and then do something totally different, So yeah, when you start to see what the agenda is, you start to realize, oh, it's all the people that are telling us, do this, do that. They're in the club, and they're towing the line. They are holding up their end of the bargain, so to speak, with the devil.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And yeah, just before I play that clip there, I couldn't find the exact, I think it was an Instagram post. I can't remember the exact words of what she said, but it was so dark what she said to unvaccinated people. It was really, really dark. All you got to do, you guys, is just look at their eyes.
Mm.
That'll tell you everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, let's take a little listen to this clip here. I'm excited because James O'Keefe, okay, I know a lot of people were disappointed about, you know, what he released. There was a few different things, wasn't there, Luke? He released the video of one of Prince Andrew's confidants. He released inside videos of Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Right. And he made it sound like
So,
this was going to be groundbreaking and that people were,
yeah.
going to want to kill him for this information. And then it came out and it
Mhm.
was like, what do you mean? We already knew this. This is a rerun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So maybe he could make a little, I don't want to use the word comeback because I do think he's doing really good work, but this would be huge if he did get some groundbreaking intel on Diddy. Let's take a listen.
Mm-hmm.
Watch what I have with what we did here and here and there.
I think that too, and also the so-called blackmail. How do you think it actually works? Like, what is the conversation like in your mind, in your imagination? I'm just curious, you guys, because that helps me as an investigative understand what I'm trying to catch.
How do I think Diddy's model works?
Correct. What's your hypotheses?
I mean, it's very simple. You come to the house, you party, you have one of the girls that locks onto one of the guys who's one of your workers. They go upstairs. There's 17 cameras in there. He says, hey, man, can I get a room? Yeah, bro, just go use my room. Goes to the room, leaves. She's 17, she's 15. Or there's a guy in there, and I record it. I have it. And the next I say, hey, I just want to let you know, here's what I got. It's very simple. Moving forward, anything I ask from you, I need you to do.
That's the thing that needs to be on video.
Yeah.
What you just said.
Yeah.
That would change everything, in my opinion.
I think that would be in text, not in video.
In a text message.
I think it would be in text messages. But I think that video, well, he's dumb enough to say it. He's dumb enough to say stuff like that. He's capable of saying stuff like that.
Well, you might have hearsay. In other words, and this is what happened with Prince Andrew. Another guy close to him said that this is what happened, which is still powerful.
Well, those guys are out there. The Gene Deals, the security, those guys have come out. They've done their part. There's a lot of people that have said stuff like that, like Suge Knight talking about his link to Clive Davis and all this other stuff. That stuff is coming out. But if you can get tied to a few other people, I think this will be the biggest story you'll break.
I am working on this, and I will work on this.
Okay, especially with some of the stuff that was dropped this week, some of the ecstasy pills and
with Obama's face on them.
Some very, very weird stuff going on here, James.
Oh, and there's just with Obama and
so James O'Keefe said he will work on it, and he is working on it. And maybe this is part of this Pluto retrograde that we're in, Luke, because during this trial, we've got Pluto retrograde since May 4th going until October 13th. Pluto rules the dark side of life. Retrograde is good for revealing the information, but can slow things down, make them last longer. So maybe part of this Pluto retrograde journey with this Diddy trial is a lot is being revealed through it, right? It's been week after week of holy crap, major revealings. But maybe it won't actually be until after the trial where we get the huge kind of intel or, thing that would make everybody wake up to it. Does that make sense why I'm saying that? It feels like we haven't got there yet. There's something we haven't gotten with this yet. That's what it is. Exactly what they're talking about how this is a ring, allegedly, how this isn't just one person, how it is a cult, and how that is all connected. That's what we need to get.
Yeah. And I think that right now, as far as I'm concerned, they've proven, transportation to engage in prostitution. Check. Right. That's kind of the least of all of the charges, though. The racketeering conspiracy charge pretty much laid the groundwork for that. You when you tell Cassie that I'm going to give you a 10 record deal, and then you have her engage in all of this horrible activity and you do nothing for her career, that's fraud, right?
Yes.
He had moments. I mean, he could every day that he woke up was a moment to actually, do something to make good on his deal with Cassie. He never did, right? So
Yeah.
that in and of itself, and then we've got all the testimony from the people that he's worked with, so on and so forth. I think that we check that box. Or I think that they still are falling a little bit short of, unless my perspective on it, unless I, change the way that I'm looking at this, I look at this and I go, I think that they need to tie financial, actual money, commerce to, hey, this person's here for that, right?
Yeah.
So far, he's been the guy that's doling out all the money. He pays for the prostitutes. He's got the relationships with the girlfriends. He's not, paying. The prostitutes aren't paying him to have sex with these women, right? He's paying them. So it's sort of the opposite. But I think that if the prosecution is attempting to lay the grounds for human trafficking in a roundabout way that, isn't necessarily right on the nose, like, a pimp would, right? Where
Right.
he's pimping somebody out so that he can get the money. This he's already got the money. So does it still qualify as human trafficking? It kind of becomes a philosophical question, right? Yeah. I mean, 100% a criminal enterprise. I'm still going to be looking for more financial details to be exposed in order for this to really feel rock solid, the way that, they rolled out their opening statements for the entire trial. I mean, who was it? Maureen Comey made it sound like by the end of this, there's going to be no question. This is going to be airtight. It's going to be open and shut. You're going to have no other choice but to find a verdict of guilty. I think there's still some wiggle room in there, unless they really, perhaps that philosophical component, the angle that we're kind of looking at this from a different perspective of, this wasn't necessarily human trafficking where the money was coming in to build his empire. Unless they go down that route and prove that, great. But if not, then they have to start to frame this in a way that it becomes a question of, did this person engage in human trafficking? Even though nobody was paying him, he was paying them. It's a question of commerce.
Yeah, definitely. And just to remind ourselves, you guys, Diddy is being charged with multiple federal charges. Number 1 is racketeering conspiracy. Number 2, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And number 3, transportation to engage in prostitution. And he's pleaded not guilty to all of them. Now, he could, not be guilty of one, but be guilty of another. Right. And I feel at this point, like even astrologically, he's having exact Pluto square his Saturn right now. So this is his birth chart. He's got Saturn, 4 degrees of Taurus. Pluto right now is 3 degrees of Aquarius and an almost exact square to his Saturn. That's a pretty hard transit if you've been doing some weird stuff to get away with that. So as the Scorpio with, a Scorpio stellium, and for Scorpios, we've got Pluto in our 4th house right now in the solar chart. So I don't know. I feel astrologically, I'd be very surprised if he got away with this. I think he's going to get charged for something. So
yeah, I think that for sure they're going to get him on the prostitution thing. I think I see Cindy Sims says that she doesn't think they're going to get him on racketeering.
Yeah.
I can see why she says that. I think that they probably get him on that. They really need 2 out of the 3, right? That in order for him to do any really considerable time, I don't think that he does very much time if all they get him on is engaging in prostitution, commuting people for prostitution, that sort of thing. It's the other 2 charges that are the big charges that really are like dude, you're talking maybe a decade, or
Right.
especially when it gets into human trafficking. I mean, you're talking really, really heavy charges there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was thinking maybe we could do something fun with the audience when we get into the final week. Once we know that, hey, we're going into the week with the closing statements,
Yeah.
maybe we have some sort of game where we all basically put in our own predictions of what he's going to be charged guilty for each of the 3 charges.
Yeah.
Guilty or not guilty. How is the gosh, I can't even think right now. How's the jury going to actually
Jury.
find him, right? Not our own opinions, but what do we think that the jury, and we'll see if anybody actually nails all 3. And I don't know, maybe we can, maybe I can send them a book or something.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. I just realized I could pull an astrological chart for the jury and do the synastry between the jury and Diddy.
Ooh, I like that.
So, okay, that'll just take me a moment here. Let me just bring that up because there was a date on what day, and you guys don't hate on me. I'm gonna use AI here for a moment. And you guys know I always will tell you if I ever use AI. So I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. This is where it's cool as astrologers because not that I don't do the AI does not do astrology for me, but if I want to know, okay, what day and time was the jury picked? Because that's actually the chart for the jury,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So on what day and at what time was the jury picked in the P. Diddy trial? This is Pluto and Aquarius. You guys stay logged out.
Incredible.
Jury selection began on Monday, May 5th. Openings, so okay, Monday, May 5th began. The final jury panel was selected after nearly a week. Oh, that's right. It was selected on the day that they did the opening statements, Monday, May 12th.
Okay.
So, okay. Give me a second here, guys. Now, we don't have the exact time, but what have I got there? Let me bring this up here, and I'll bring this up on my astrology chart. So for those of you who don't know, there's a chart for everything. There's a chart for absolutely everything. So I'm going to bring up Diddy's chart, and we'll put the jurors chart on top of that.
Oh, I love
and
this.
see what we got going on. Okay. There's Diddy. And hopefully this works because this has been a little bit wonky lately. Okay. May 12th, 2025. And I'm going to put, what time should I put? We don't have the exact time. I'm just going to put 10 a.m.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm feeling 10 a.m.
It's kind of
So
when
that'll be
court starts to get going in the day.
right. Yep. Okay, New York. Just one sec, you guys. May 12th. Okay, here we go. So let's take a look. Oh, that says 12. No, I want it to say 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Okay, there we go. So on the middle rim, can you see my mouse moving over this?
Yeah.
Luke?
Yep.
Okay, the middle. Oh, damn. Oh, shit. Okay, it was a moon in Scorpio. Whoa. So the jury was picked with the moon in Scorpio at a Scorpio degree. They're going to take him out.
You think
They're
he's not
taking
even
him
going to
out.
make it to the end of the trial?
Like you mean
removed from the
assassination?
game board, or like he's going down for the crime?
They're taking him out. Look at this. Moon, Scorpio, 20 degrees. With the south node that day, almost exactly conjunct his Pluto. So that's like endings, loss of energy. So it's
Wow.
almost like if you think of it, the moon is very important in astrology because the moon, whether you believe it's real or fake, whatever, it's our most closest heavenly body.
Mhm.
It has the greatest influence on us other than the sun. So really, and the moon does represent people and the public opinion. So this
Mm.
actually the most important thing in the juror's chart. And it's in Scorpio at a Scorpio degree, conjunct Diddy's Neptune. So I think the jury, they're seeing through all of this. I don't think they're normies, but they're seeing this and they're going, holy crap, holy Toledo. They're not looking, they're looking at this as Scorpios. They are Scorpios looking at this.
Wow.
Like if I was in the jury as a Scorpio
Ooh.
in this trial, I'd be like, we're taking him out. This is like, you just look at everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy if you take it. There would be no Scorpio there's no middle road. There's no middle road. So they're feeling things to an extreme. I'm going to predict that they're, what's it called? They come up with the verdict very fast.
Okay.
They might
Wow, I
already
love
have
that.
it.
Hot take. Hot take. You know,
Yeah,
and
they may
if I
already
was
have it.
guilty, the last group of jurors I would want is 12 Scorpios. You know,
They
I
are
mean,
like Scorpios on there.
wow.
That is
That's
the last thing you would want.
oh my gosh, yeah.
And the juror's Pluto is square his Saturn because he's going through Pluto square Saturn right now. So
Holy cow.
they're like, we're taking you out.
Bad news for him.
And bad news. And I forgot to mention this too. In Diddy's, okay, wait one sec. In Diddy's chart, where's his chart? Here it is. He was born with Mercury in Scorpio in an exact opposition. So this is the strong aspect in his chart to Saturn. Mercury rules friends. In an opposition to Saturn, the law, order. So we have not yet seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, we have not yet seen one of his close friends get on the stand and let it all out.
No. No.
We've
We
still
also
got-
haven't seen any of them get on the stand and defend him either.
Right. Correct. So that Mercury in an opposition to Saturn is your friends can screw you over having to do with law and order.
Wow. That is wild. Can we see what's the north node of the jury? I'm wondering
The
if
north-
they, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the north node of the jury is Pisces because we've got the north node in Pisces right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, yeah. So interesting that Diddy is in a nodal return. So the north node is conjunct to, this is not looking good for him because also when the jury was picked, the north node was conjunct Saturn.
Wow.
So this is about the reality checks of what's been going on. I think they are seeing this. I think who has been picked in this jury are, and I'm getting chills when they're seeing through this, and some of them may even be conspiracy theorists, actually,
Oh, fantastic.
because it's such a strong Scorpio influence.
I love it.
That's crazy.
That's very crazy. That's very crazy.
Wow. And yeah, the Neptune conjunct the Chiron.
And what does the fifth house represent? I'm just looking at Jupiter over there, kind of floating on the outer ring there, seemingly in the void of anything relevant for Diddy. I'm just wondering what the house.
Well, the houses, we don't know Diddy's exact time of birth.
Oh, okay.
So the houses are a little bit, they're not exact, but I mean, Jupiter and Gemini, it's kind of sucked the past year. Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's been great because there's been a lot of truths being revealed and there's been gossip after gossip. And it's been great for podcasters and social media, but that's not in any special aspects for Diddy. I would be very surprised if he gets away with this. If he gets away with this, this is a Justin Castro scenario where some people got mad at me because they're like, you said Justin Castro was going to go to jail already. Okay. Because his astrology is so bad that, and I got to be careful here on YouTube, but that's the only time where I've looked at someone's astrology and it didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you can come up with some creative ideas of why that might be for a person. So with Diddy, this astrology is so bad that if he gets away with it, it doesn't make sense astrologically.
Mm.
There's something I think he's going to be charged with. And these jurors, this is with the moon being at Scorpio and a Scorpio degree, this is very intense for them. They may be getting threatened, Scorpio. Not only are they seeing through it, they're having the Scorpio experience while they're going through this for the 8 weeks. They may be getting threatened. They may be getting followed. They may be getting death threats. They may be getting poisoned. We may see a juror get poisoned or killed during this trial.
Holy cow. Wow.
So I think the juror, it's interesting because we don't know them, right? It's funny because they've got the front seat. They're the front seat, but they've also got the back seat in terms of us because we don't know who they are. But there could be a death of a juror. I don't want that to be the case. I'm not calling for anybody's death, but there could be something very intense that actually happens to a juror during this trial or in the preceding time after this trial.
Wow. Wow.
So this is very intense. Larry says the House of Cards is coming down. That is ominous for sure.
Well, I love that we just did this because you know, you've been spot on with so many predictions. I feel like wasn't this right around the time last year when you predicted the Trump, bullet to the ear thing, like
Yeah.
in the same week or like a couple of days or a day before that happened. And wasn't that June? Like, I feel like
wasn't that July?
Okay, maybe okay,
Yeah.
July. But
Yeah.
we're close enough. I feel like wow, we could be repeating amazing
be a
predictions. Yeah,
There could be a
right.
Yeah, Daisy says, Meg, the jurors for O.J. Simpson trial I guarantee you these jurors are not having a good time right now. These jurors are having a very difficult time and probably a scary time. Scorpio can also be psychic attack. They're having nightmares. They're having literal energetic attacks. So hats off to these jurors because I haven't heard anything specifically about them. I feel like we would have heard, Luke, if there was anything intense up until this point.
Yeah. I'm thinking of how are those people dealing with the energies that we were talking about at the top of the show here today of like,
right.
Schumann resonance. We're experiencing this stuff with as just people out living in the world, living our lives with relatively few issues or drama sitting in front of us. What is it like for these people who are sitting in a courtroom listening to just the deepest kind of drama that you can possibly think of, and just having to listen to this for 10 hours a day? And then that they're put up in a hotel, but I guarantee it's not, the Marriott. It's not some place where you go in and,
Are they being put up in a hotel?
Relaxed.
Sorry to interrupt you.
I mean,
they're in a hotel right now?
I think I would imagine that they would have to be, given the the nature of the trial. Let me just Google, is the jury sequestered at all?
I just found a list, Luke, of the 12 jurors and not their names, but their sex, age, and occupation.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Because what are the occupations?
So interesting. Massage therapist, investment analyst ruled by Scorpio. Investments is Scorpio. Scientist, deli clerk, nursing home aide, ruled by Scorpio, clerk at a correctional facility, ruled by Scorpio, retired physician's assistant, social worker, bank analyst, ruled by Scorpio, treatment coordinator, architect, unemployed, physician, nonprofit employee, site operator, officer at international organization, ruled by Scorpio. So there's multiple people in there that are actually scorpionic in their occupation. So banks, end of life care, being, a main role at an international organization. They vary in ages. The average age is 52, which I think is actually ruled by Scorpio.
I
'Cause
wonder which
ages
one
are
of these ages what?
each age is I'm having a brain fart. Each year of age is ruled by a sign, and each kind of phase of the ages is ruled by a sign.
Okay.
And I 52 is Scorpio, actually.
Wow.
So this is where it's like so many different layers. It's crazy.
I wonder
So
which
these
one of these archetypes they chose to be, the leader. I forget what they call the person that is
the
sort of
leader,
the
yeah.
point person, right, of the whole jury that, does the communication. I think that will be the person who delivers the final verdict. I forget what they call that person, but there's everyone from a deli clerk to a scientist. I mean, and an
Mhm,
unemployed guy.
mhm. How weird is that? A deli, yeah, and an unemployed guy.
And a clerk at a
Wow, and it gives a
correctional
little bit of
facility.
personal information to each of them. These people are gonna have stories after this trial.
Mhm.
They're
So it
gonna have
doesn't
some.
look like they don't have to go to a hotel room. So
Okay, got
they've
it.
just been instructed not to talk to anybody about it. They can go home with their families at the end of the day. But man, imagine sitting around the dinner table with somebody who just sat in on this all day long. They're probably just like,
And wow, that's wild. 'Cause it's actually dangerous for them to share. Not only is it illegal, but it's actually dangerous for them.
mhm. Wow.
Wow, that is crazy. And Gerald says, "Diddy is the Antichrist." Oh my goodness. I
He said he
mean,
was the devil.
he said he's the
I mean,
devil and he's gonna kill you.
yeah. And, it reminds me of I just watched that Kanye West interview with, I forget who the guy was that interviewed him, but he's wearing his black KKK outfit, right? And in all black the whole time. And in that
Mhm.
interview, he says that he's the devil as well.
Oh, yeah, he did say that.
Yeah. Yeah. He says that he's the devil as well. Yeah. That's another guy that,
That's a
I
whole
mean,
other.
a whole other conversation. The guy's an enigma at this point, and
Mhm,
I don't know what's
mhm.
going on with
Yep. It's some freaky stuff going on, and he's
yeah,
saying Diddy's innocent. He's saying Diddy is that's a whole other that's, like, so I don't even
right.
know what that that's
Yeah.
'cause after listening to this trial, okay, this is not an innocent person. I mean, I don't know anybody personally, but, I mean, all these people lying and the video of him beating I mean, he's not. He is an abuser. We know that for sure
Absolutely.
at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so yeah, so okay, you guys, we're almost at the 2-hour mark. Wow, we went for a really long time, and I wanna respect, your time, Luke. Is there anything else you wanna br and I also have my Beyond Astro I gotta do in 5 minutes.
Sure.
Is there anything yeah. Is there anything you wanna bring up, any closing remarks before you finish up?
No, not anything in regard to the trial. I'll just say that, in regard to my book, again, to reiterate, I'm going to be donating proceeds of this to uh, the Moving Beyond Trauma Project. It's a great organization, a great effort to help heal people that went through some of these horrible scenarios like we're touching on here in this trial.
Mhm.
And you know, victims of human trafficking. The woman who leads this herself, Judy Dragon, it was a former victim of this herself. So somebody who comes from deep understanding of what people who go through this type of thing go through. So if you feel compelled and interested to check out the book, Confessions of a Conspiracy Theorist, know that you'll be supporting two good causes. You'll be helping further the awakening process and also helping to heal some of these people that are, you know, living with the aftermath of going through something like this. So that's it. That's all I would like to put out there.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I've read your book and I couldn't put a frickin' review. That pissed me off the other day. I couldn't do that. But yeah, we will keep trying.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with it some this week and see if it's, you know, something that I have control over. But I get the sense that maybe Amazon just turned off the reviews on this. So, you know, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Patience, as we were talking about earlier, the Saturn and Aries. Granddaddy Saturn is like, I'm doing some things really fast, but then in this area over here, we need patience. Oh my goodness. So yeah, you can go check out Luke's book and all his links in the description box below. Also, my links are below, and special new astrological crystal kits by Sunny from Pluto and myself available at thescorplingshop.com. You can go check that out. And we have our also cosmic alignment astro calendar for this natural year available. Crystal prescriptions for each of the signs for this natural year. Lots of cool stuff. So that is available. And thank you, Luke. The time is just going by so fast. It's so weird. Thank you so much for joining me for another P. Diddy trial recap. And we'll be back next week for week 6. We'll see what kind of craziness we've got going on after this full moon in Sagittarius and Jupiter square Saturn. I think it's going to be quite eventful. Going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially after that astrological prediction. Now I'm extra curious about week 6.
Yeah, I think there must be something in my astrology about predictions for that time of year, because every time it's that time of year, I do bam, bam, bam. I don't know why that is. So we'll see.
All right. Cool.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channels, and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye, everybody.